Okay, in this video we're going to be checking out the new Diatone GT-R5. This also has a different name on Bank of the GT-R530, and on the Diatone website they're calling it the GT Rabbit or the GT-R Rabbit. Diatone kind of is always tweaking their products and changing the names and stuff. That's kind of what they've been doing. They're always constantly trying to improve their products. So sometimes the names change a little bit. They did send out this particular model, not to me, but to some other reviewers as a prototype, where they had some skinny ESCs on the arms, and they've gone away from that design. They've switched it over to this 4-in-1 ESC. The frame here is also a little bit different. I think the prototype frame had a different top plate. Had like a top plate that was like more rectangular. It had like these cutouts in there. Now you got a solid top plate with the GT Rabbit engraved into the carbon. I think this design here actually looks nicer than the previous top plate. I believe the arms and everything else are the same. So I got individual arms here. You got a bottom plate but no sandwich plate. So you got 4mm arms, 3mm bottom plate, 2mm top plate, and then you just have these two screws that hold the arms onto the bottom plate. And you can see that here on the bottom. They have some countersunk screws here that hold on each arm. So it could be pro and a con. Does kind of cut the weight down, but some people will say that it's not going to be as durable and crashes. So the motors on here are the Sunny Sky Edge Racing 2306 24 kV motors. Very nice motors. There's a lot of motors in this stator size and kV size. Open bottom design there. You got a hollow shaft, but on the bottom you have a C-clip. And I'm not sure if you can see the windings there now. They're multi-stranded windings. The motor is very smooth. It's not very notchy at all. You got some thin magnets. I think they're flat. But this motor overall is pretty good. Lots of power, as typical for a lot of these 2306 motors. I think they're pretty similar to the Emax motors and the ones from HGLRC as well. So I don't know the specific thrust numbers on these, but they feel pretty similar. And as mentioned before, they have gone to a 4-in-1 ESC, so you have basically it's a 4-in-1 40 amp BLE SDAC, not BLE 32. And then the flight controller is actually the Fury F3 flight controller. So it's an F3 based flight controller, so not an F4. So if you guys are looking for an F4 for your racing drone, then this is not going to be your model. And then the video transmitter is the TBS Unify, and they have soldered the TBS to this circuit board here. You have a buzzer. It's actually the Unify is actually underneath this little RF shield, and so you got a buzzer on there as well as extra capacitor as well for video noise filtration. So you'll see there's no video noise at all in the video, and then there's even an additional two big more capacitors here in the back for more filtration. So should be really no electrical noise in the video whatsoever, and that should not be an issue now with as they had in the past with video noise. Camera here in the front is the RunCam Micro Swift. Now they are going to be changing this 3D printed part here for the mount because it was a little bit loose. So I ended up putting a piece of foam underneath here. You can see a little block of black foam. That's just to keep the camera from shaking, so there's no jello. But they're going to be changing this 3D printed part out for some different kind of mount in the actual production release. This is pretty close to the production, but not the actual final version. The video transmitter has a little pigtail here that goes to this whip antenna. That's what this ships with, but it was okay. I thought the reception was alright. Although I think you probably would want to replace that with a circular polarized antenna if you're going to be getting this. A few more specs on the frame. It's 230 millimeters motor to motor. It's 148 millimeters side to side and 180 millimeters front to back. So it is definitely a stretch deck if you guys are running on the specs or the measurements. And the weight, as you see here, is approximately 270 grams. The props that I flew with are these Gemfan 5152s. I prefer this one as for this motor because it's got a lot more torque, a lot more power. But they are shipping the Gemfan 5042s instead of these props because I think that they kind of are not looking at the professional racer really, but more like a intermediate person. So that prop's going to have a little bit less power, a little more control than this one, but I like this one better. But the one you're going to get is the 5042, and then the PID tune that's on here is going to be for that prop. The 5152 tune is a little bit off. You'll see that in the video, but it's not terribly off. So you'll see that it's actually totally viable. It should be an okay tune if you want to use those numbers for this prop, if you decide to use this prop. But of course, you know, props are completely subjective and personal. So, and you can just go with whatever you like, and then obviously tune your PIDs to the way that you fly. So I'll show you the flight demo. You guys can judge for yourself how this thing flies compared to some of the other recent models out there, like the Hawk 5 and the Batman 220. A lot of these sort of stretch decks racers here, there's a lot that look similar to this, and they fly very similarly. They all have the 2306 motors, similar KV. So it's a pretty crowded market. Obviously, some of the differentiating things are the F3 versus the F4, but you know, those are things that you're gonna have to look at the price and all that kind of stuff and see if that's something that's a factor for you. I think that this one is less than the Batman. I think it's around the same price as the Hawk 5. So those are some of the things you need to sort of weigh. And of course, you know, if you happen to like the Diatone products better, you know, that's another thing to consider. One thing also to consider is that this, as like all the other Diatone products that they sell, it only comes as a plug and play. So you do have to add your own receiver, which I added here, a little XM plus receiver. I just have that zip tie to the top plate there. So, but you've seen that before in a lot of other Diatone plug and play models. You do have to add your own receiver. So that's one other thing to consider. Anyway, guys, I'll go ahead and show you the flight footage. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Okay, so these are the PIDs I'll be using. The ones that the Diatone sent. The ones you get might be different, so just keep that in mind. And I'm also using different props. The Gemfan 5152s instead of the 5048s, so your flight characteristics might be a little bit different on the 5042s. They're going to be a little bit more toned down. The 5152s are more aggressive. Let's do a full speed pass. Pretty smooth. And these props do draw a lot of amps. So I'm not going to be flying this one with too much acro. You can see it does do flips and rolls, but this is really meant to be a racer, so it's going to be doing a lot of turns. I think this tune is a little sloppy for a racer. It needs to be a little bit more locked in. So that's something you probably would want to adjust. They tend to put a loose tune from the factory just in case of any manufacturing differences between the components. If it's too tight, then you're going to get a lot of oscillations. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, this tune is not bad. If you want to use these numbers, they're okay. A little prop wash there. Some hard turns, it's your own prop wash. Get that to come out. This thing's really fast. You're gonna need a really good battery. The battery I've got is I think a so-so battery. Not the best. And I'm already at about 14 volts there. Recovered a little bit there. I'm running a 1500 milliamp hour LiPo, in case you guys are wondering. I don't know if the amp draw numbers are accurate or not, but I think they are. But they may need adjusting. But yeah, this thing really seems to fly nice and smooth. No complaints. And these motors have a ton of power. These Diatone 2306, 2450 kV, pretty popular stator size and kV. A lot of the racing style quads have this size motor on there. So about 1300 milliamps. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring it in here. Want to kill the batteries. I think you can probably get about 3.5 minutes of flight if you're using this as a racer on a 1500, which is I think probably average for something of this in this category with the motors and everything, etc. Go ahead and I'll land it. I got a lot of camera tilt in here, so it's kind of hard to come in slow. You can see the voltage dropping there at 13.8.